Do you want to grow a brand to over $50 million without even changing the product at all? Imagine this. You've got the most commoditized, the oldest product category in the world. You don't change any of the product, and yet you can grow a brand new brand in this category and in a very short period of time go to over $50 million. Unbelievable, right? That's exactly what Graza has done. And I want to tell you about what their secret was and how to get there, because I think any brand can do it. So this episode of CPG Brand Builders is all about Graza. Now, I was walking through the Anuga trade show in Germany, seeing all these amazing brands, and I come across this olive oil stand. One guy sitting behind the desk, and I'm just chatting with him, and he had this packaging in his case. And I said, "Oh, I know what that is. It's Graza." And he's like, "Well, that was until they changed our co-packing from us." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And he said, "Well, they first came to me. It was Andrew Benin came, got these guys to pack olive oil in this kind of bottle, and they just started selling it. And at this time, he said, we never thought it was going to work. We were like, this is the kind of a dumb idea. I don't think anybody, you don't put olive oil in plastic. It's disgusting. You only put it in, this beautiful glass with the olive orchard on it. That's what you do. And it's got to be about the taste and about the vintage and all these kind of different components of olive oil." And I could tell he was miffed. Like, he was not happy that this brand new upstart olive oil brand is taking off like wildfire, and they could have done it themselves, and they didn't. And I think, man, what is the key marketing lesson that comes out of this? And so I want to walk you through this right now. So without changing the olive oil category, Graza created a usage occasion experience for consumers. Now, when we look at usage occasions, that means how does a consumer actually use our products? What meals do they have it in? How do they consume it? Why do they consume it? Where are they doing that? All those different components. And I think it's actually an area that most marketers miss. We kind of have these demographics and psychographics that we look at, and we try to categorize people in big chunks. But what Andrew did when he started this was that he was saying, hey, as a chef, you use olive oil in cooking, and you're going to use it. And this one is the original. It's the sizzle. And so you want to put it on your food, whether it's on salads, whether you're cooking with it. And it's a drizzle effect that you're actually using it with. So instead of having these bottles that have these kind of weird tops that kind of, squirt out and it was just awkward, could we create a packaging that, one, you can actually squeeze, which is why, hence the plastic, and has a nozzle that actually shoots a finer, line within that, so that chefs, home chefs, people could actually use olive oil the way that they want to. Now, it seems so simple in hindsight. We look at it now and we're like, oh yeah, duh, that's easy. But to have that foresight to really know your audience. And so even if you look at your back of this, it's saying it's used in roasting vegetables on a sheet pan, making eggs in the morning, firing up a juicy steak on the grill, or mushrooms if you're into that, baking beautiful olive oil cake. So these are all usage occasions of how to actually use Graza. And what they're doing is that, hey, it's just 100%, Piquel olive oil from Jean Spain. That's it. It's just a certain type of olive oil that has a certain kind of flavor variety that's perfect for this kind of usage occasion. Now they've kind of expanded into other ones. But in only about 4 or 5 years, to grow this to over $50 million, where now they have distribution in Target, Whole Foods, lots of different retailers picking it up, a great direct-to-consumer. So how do you actually start to then seed that idea? So the first one is that you have to find the packaging format that is going to make sense. And that's where they came up with plastic with the top on it. And they started to say, okay, this is actually how people are using this. When I was at Procter & Gamble, we actually had in the laundry fabric division, we actually had these times where we would go to people's homes and watch them do laundry. Right? Sounds kind of weird. It's kind of like you're just sitting there and these people are like kind of looking at you, and you're like, yeah, just, pretend we're not here. We just want to see how you actually do the laundry. And so you can see people are just shoving stuff in, and then they just took their dryer sheet and they just threw it in, and then they would like take a fabric softener and then, dump it in. And we're like, oh, do you know that you actually don't need a laundry sheet if you're using fabric softener? And they looked at us and they were like, what? Yeah, of course you do. It makes it extra soft. And we were like, actually, it doesn't. It actually just doesn't make a difference. And it was like, oh. And we were like, that's a huge insight that as a Downy marketing manager in laundry, watching people do it, we're like, they're just doing things out of habit. They don't even realize it. And we would never have had that insight if we were just looking at a spreadsheet behind our desk. I think it's so important to actually get into the lives of your consumers to find out how are they actually using the products? What are they doing? Most of the time, it's just been passed down, whether they learned it from their parents or a friend. Somebody showed them to do something once, and they did it. And actually, most great commercials, especially with new products, are all about teaching the proper usage occasion and then helping them maybe either increase usage. Maybe there's different options for it to be able to, use it for different times of the day, different occasions. But this is what Graza has done. They actually tapped into usage occasion behavior, and they did it in a way over and over and over again to teach people how to do it the Graza way. And now what they've done is, if you look at their social media, they have tons of UGC content, of people actually drizzling it on different varieties. They have influencers. They have different chefs. They have a ton of their audience in their community now. And it's all about reinforcing usage behavior, attitudes towards it, so that people would be like, oh my gosh, I totally need that. And they can buy this and have other olive oil in their house, but they know, oh, this is the one I use for cooking, for drizzling, for whatever it is, because it's an easy, convenient format. Now, once people have this bottle, now we have to refill it. Do you just buy a whole new one every time? No, you can get actually sustainable cans, because the feedback early days of Graza was like, you're using plastic? That's so bad for the environment. That's my voice I use for that. And it's because it's like, yeah, it is. It's actually not great. And you don't want olive oil in there necessarily for a long period of time because it can leach. And so you're like, you know what? Well, what can we do? Well, one is we're going to have these cans now that you can order, Graza cans that you pop open and you can refill your bottle. So one, you have a reusability of it. People feel better about themselves. And you can keep going that way so that it's easier to ship on e-commerce and stuff too when you actually have more of a canned type format. So if you want to start to grow your marketing in a way that is going to, I think, set it on fire, think about the usage occasions. Write down right now, how do consumers, different ones, use our product? What time of day do they use them? At what occasions? What triggers them to maybe start using it? Is it a recipe? Is it a certain, maybe having people over, entertaining? Is it everyday, ideas that they just need more of? So think about all those different usage occasions. And then how does your packaging and how does that buying process help them do those occasions easier or better? That's going to unlock more opportunities for you. Now, once you start getting into formats and packaging changes, you get a whole different beast of operational challenges, but don't be frightened from those. There's co-packing opportunities that are out there. There are investments to make, because if you make the right investment and you say, hey, operations and finance, we need to buy this $500,000 packaging machine, but it's going to open up millions of dollars in a whole new category and a whole new set of consumers, it's absolutely going to be worth it. So don't be afraid of those big business cases when you're actually thinking about this, because it could be an amazing idea that you just never thought of, or you just never wanted to take a jump because it maybe felt too big. So if you want to have a big brand, $50 million in revenue in less than about 5 years with Graza, you can do it. So this is where CPG Brand Builders, if you're not a member with us yet, sign up, brandbuilderscpg.com. We would love to have you a part of us if you love marketing and you want to get better.